Afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to my humble podcast, Journeys with Jack. Today, I'm going to speak about a place that I've been several times, the Abacos in the Bahamas. So, lovely area. I first went about 20 years ago. I last went about 10 months ago. Several ways to get there. You can fly on a direct Delta flight nowadays from Atlanta and get there in about 2 hours or less. In the past, I've driven down to Daytona Beach and gone over by a propeller plane. Or you can go to Palm Beach and fly over on Bahamas Air. They have service on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Kind of interesting. You're going to commit to staying over for a Wednesday if you go Bahamas Air. So what I'd like to do is kind of construct the way I went a few years ago when we went out of Palm Beach. We'd met a friend of mine's agent who managed a hotel in Pelican Shores, Alan Hamilton, at a Brunswick, Georgia exit off I-95, and he gave me a key to a van, which was very useful because we arrived on Easter weekend and it was a holiday on Friday, of course on Sunday, and also on Monday. So Pelican Shores Beach Villas was where we used to stay, but it got wiped out in a hurricane. It was very convenient, near a restaurant still in service around the harbor from the main town of Marsh Harbor, and that restaurant is the Jib Room. They have a great Saturday evening dinner called Steak Night. Naturally, you get steak, etc., fixed price, a lot of fun. They usually have a band. Restaurant's still going strong. Unfortunately, the old hotel is not. So the hotelier, my friend Sam Oliver, opened another place on the other side of Marsh Harbor, about 4 miles from the traffic light at the K&S gas station. Incidentally, there is still only one traffic light in Marsh Harbor after all these years. So the new place that I stayed this past spring was called Great Cistern Beach Village. It's still being built up, but they have at least 5 accommodations, some nice cottages, etc. Beautiful little cove there to swim in. So getting back to the Easter weekend spring break trip that we took, I was glad we had that key to the van when we got to the airport because it was Easter weekend and most things were closed and you couldn't hardly get a taxi. So we jumped in the van, drove over, and we were able to prevail upon a shop owner to open up and let us buy some milk there. And so we got a few necessities, and then we went on to check into our accommodation and went out to eat at a great restaurant called Wally's right there in Marsh Harbor. Very good stone crab. Also, their piece de la resistance is carrot soup. Well, the thing to do when you go to the Abacos is hire a boat so that you can explore the keys off from the main island of Great Abaco. So Marsh Harbor has several different boat services. One that I've used in the past is Blue Wave. I've also used Rainbow Rentals in the past as well. We were able to go on this occasion and get a 22-foot twin V on the next morning, Saturday, but unfortunately the weather was not really conducive to going out in the boat. The wind was howling, and so we were happy to have the car because we were able to drive south down to Little Harbor where Pete's Pub is located. Nice little beach there, and they have an art studio as well. And then just past that area is the town of Cherokee, and on the way to Cherokee they've now built a golf course, and we pulled off into some parking and met a nice Bahamian couple who showed us some wild figs, which we partook, and then walked a bit on a beach in Sheltered Cove and on to the museum in Cherokee. Now this is a hidden gem in Great Abaco. The museum has old bottles and old coins dating all the way back to when that area was settled principally by loyalists fleeing from the aftermath of the American Revolution. Now that brings me to the point of the flag behind me. If you can see, as I turn, this is flag of the Bahamas. There's flag of Great Britain. This is the lighthouse that I'll speak about a little bit later at Hopetown on Elbow Key. And the ship was 1785. For those history buffs amongst you, you remember that that would be the end of the American Revolutionary War, and that was the time where many loyalists from the United States moved down to the Bahamas. Lots from the Carolinas, Virginia, New York. There's even a book detailing some of this migration called Wind from the Carolinas. It's a fictional book, but I suppose you'd call it historical fiction. It parallels the immigration efforts from the loyalists pretty well. So this flag actually was developed by the Dinghy Sailing Club on Elbow Key at Hopetown as a commemoration. You'll see 1985 on there as well as 200-year commemoration. So anyway, down in Cherokee, there was a settlement made by a lot of the loyalists, and so they've got good historical documentation dating back to that time. So we were glad to have that car so we could go visit somewhere else since we were knocked out of boating that day. Well, the next morning was Easter Sunday, and so we went to the Catholic Church there in Marsh Harbor, and curious, I ran into the Prime Minister. At that time, Hubert Minus, nice fella, very limited security, only one guard. He and I talked for a while, and I remarked to him that I found it kind of amusing that the previous time I'd been in the Bahamas, I'd run into the Prime Minister over on one of the outlying islands underneath a fig tree. So kind of cool to run into the Prime Minister back-to-back trips. So after seeing Mr. Hubert Minus, we went back, changed clothes, got into the boat to head off to a very popular place to go on Sundays called Nippers. So here's a cup from it. Now Nippers has a barbecue on Sundays, but on Easter Sunday they have a most unique activity that I found out about from a gentleman on the plane, a guy named Brent, who goes every year. He told me that we need to make certain that we came over to Nippers on Sunday by such and such time to make it for the underwater Easter egg hunt. Yes, that's what I said, that's what you heard. Underwater Easter egg hunt. So you put on snorkel gear and you go out and root around amongst the reef off the coast and look for brightly colored plastic Easter eggs with little tokens that can get you a beer or an ice cream or some food stuff, etc. It was a whole lot of fun. I really did enjoy it, and what a clever idea. Great Guana apparently has the third largest barrier reef in the world, so called by people that measure such things, I suppose. Anyway, here's a little tip for you if you go to the Easter egg hunt. Well, notice which way the current's going, because I found way more eggs later in the day as I went for a walk on the beach and saw the ones that had washed up down current from where the hunt was. I came back and I was just loaded down with foodstuffs, ice cream, etc. I was most popular amongst my children. So after enjoying ourselves at Nippers at Great Guana, we headed on back, and next morning we got up and went out to go do a little snorkeling. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about how you navigate around. It's very easy. Don't be intimidated. If you have rudimentary knowledge about boats and a little bit of knowledge about how the navigation works, they're going to give you a map with some compass headings, and then there's an excellent book by Steve Dodge called Cruising the Abacos. Had to make sure I got the title right. Put out by White Sound Press. And he updates it every year and mentions how the sandbars have changed, etc. But the compass headings aren't going to change. So when you are coming out of Marsh Harbor, you take compass heading 82 degrees to a place called Point Set Rock. This has some type of telecommunications antenna set up on it, and it's just outside and kind of around a headland from the main harbor. From Point Set Rock, there are compass headings that you'll use to go to various places. For instance, you take compass heading 162 to Hopetown and 140 degrees to Tahiti Beach. So Hopetown is where the iconic lighthouse, which was copied years ago by the people in Hilton Head, that's where it's located. And Tahiti Beach is a beautiful sand expanse in the lee of Elbow Key, and well protected if you're down there on windy days, which we were, and good snorkeling area. So 140 degree heading takes you to Tahiti Beach, which is what we did that day, and snorkeled and had a great time there. Now for lunch you can go across a short body of water to Lubber's Quarters, which is another island, has a great restaurant called Cracker Peas, named after a refugee from Georgia who had settled on that island about a century ago. Or you can do as we did that day and continue on to Elbow Key, but south of Hopetown, and go eat at Abacos Inn, which is what we did that day. Abacos Inn has an excellent saltwater pool, and it is on the Atlantic side of the island, looks out over Rocky Beach and some crashing waves. Really a beautiful view. So that's what we did for lunch. Headed back into Marsh Harbor that evening, and we utilized the car and went north on the island up to a development called Treasure Key. When I first went to the Abacos, Treasure Key was just getting going 20 plus years ago. Now it's well built out and has some good opportunities for a nice dinner, excellent seafood, good harbor marina facilities, etc. Not too far away off the coast is Green Island Key, which has a very interesting display called the Loyalist Garden. It has statues to many of the Loyalists who relocated to the Bahamas subsequent to the American Revolution. This island was also used as a navigational waypoint during the blockade running, which occurred during the American Civil War. So a lot of history on that island. So the next day we went back over in the direction of Nippers, but went to the other end of Great Guana Key. When you pull up Great Guana Key, there's a main dock, and it has a walkway down it, and you go underneath a blue enamel sign that says "Welcome to Great Guana." If you come underneath that sign to the end of the dock and then turn left, a very short walk will take you to a place called Grabbers. Grabbers is on a very shallow protected cove and is excellent if you have small children, easy to do paddleboarding, which we like to do, also lots of snorkeling. They have all kinds of amenities, paddle boards, snorkel equipment, little paddle boats as well, and they serve a great lunch. We liked it so much we did it twice. So that was the way we spent that day, and then subsequently we went out again over towards Elbow Key and climbed the lighthouse that you see behind us. Great views from the lighthouse, tremendous. Pull into the harbor, dock, head up to the lighthouse. Please make a small donation to them, as it's costly to keep it up, but I'd like to point out how strong this lighthouse is, having survived numerous of the hurricanes that have befallen the Bahamas in the past. Having been to that lighthouse, we enjoyed it and decided that we'd go back to Grabbers again, try it out some more, and on the way stopped at a place called Mermaid Reef off of Pelican Shores. So this is back towards the Great Abaco Island, and Mermaid Reef is a well-known snorkel spot, and we kind of lucked out that day. There were some fishermen who were cleaning their catch nearby, and as they dropped some of the remnants into the water, it attracted lots of fish. I did ask them if I should be worried about sharks or barracuda, and they chuckled at me and said there weren't any in that vicinity. So we enjoyed having had the water sort of, if you will, chummed up a bit to bring in the beautiful tropical fish, parrotfish, sergeant majors, blue, purple tang, etc. It was great. So continued on from there and did much the same as we'd done the day before out at Grabbers, but it was still a good time nonetheless. So on another day, we went over to a place called Alberry's Sail Shop. That's on Man o' War Key. Now, Alberry's is famous as a boat builder, but they also used to sew canvas back in the days when ships were powered by the wind, and they would sew the canvas for sails. As time went on, they modified and changed what they did. They now make high-quality canvas bags, which apparently are sought after as perhaps some type of designer statement, not quite on the level of a Louis Vuitton bag, I don't suppose, but nonetheless, they seem to be rather popular in the southeastern United States. They also make hats and some other garments. I'd had a pretty good hat from them back in the day, great as a blocker of the sun while motoring around the islands or here on the coast of southeastern Georgia, Savannah area. So one thing that I noted on this trip over to Man o' War Key, which is the closest island to Marsh Harbor, and you can actually see it from the Pelican Shores area. it's been built out a lot more, a lot of European second homes, and we met some Swedes and some Germans that were there. In fact, one of the German gentlemen showed us a lovely secluded beach where we snorkeled in the lee of the island and were protected from any prevailing winds. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that you can get an excellent conch salad in Marsh Harbor, and so don't feel that you've got to get it on the main street in the harbor, although there is a guy that sets up near the restaurant called Snappa's. That's SNAPPA''S. There's also a great place on the road to the airport where a guy has a rudimentary food truck, and you can get some fine conch salad there as well. So I would like to say that the Bahamas are a great place and are very proud of their tradition, as evidenced by the flag behind me. And I thought I'd draw your attention to this Bahamian $1 bill. And notice the excellent outfit sported by this policeman. You can still see such outfit occasionally in Nassau, not often in the out islands, I'm afraid. Well, I hope this will prompt you to go check out Abacos, and I hope that you enjoyed my presentation today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.